Hello, podcast listener. Pull out your calendar and try and follow along as I tell you about my insane life right now. Plus, I need your help. If you've got an option, let me know at the end of this podcast. Sit back, relax, and enjoy this episode of JJ Meets World, brought to you by Hectic Schedules. And by the way, if you'd like to help support our podcast, visit jjmeetsworld.com where you can donate to our Patreon, pick up some killer swag at our merch shop, or click the link to Apple Podcast and give us a 5-star review.
1, 2, 3, 4. J.J. Gordon, sort of like that Indiana Jones, in that he's always sniffing out his next adventure. Yes, he is. He's always interviewing guests so he can have them on his show and they can talk about pop culture, arts, and leisure. J.J. has his flag unfurled and he likes his french fries curled, and he's fun and then he twirls as he goes to meet the world. He will march into the rain even if his ankle sprained. Take a peek inside his brain. This podcast is called J.J. Meets World.
Kids today don't know the importance of deodorant. And I just want to say that out loud so that there's some kind of record.
How are you gathering data?
Oh, the old-fashioned way.
You're just going from kid to kid and smelling those pits, or what are you doing?
I'm walking down a hallway and being like, why does everyone smell like a gymnasium right now?
Oh, okay. Is that a Gen Z thing that you make sure you're smelly?
So I was wondering, I was like, do they have a thing about like, I don't like aluminum touching my body, and I'm all about, because let's face it, the natural deodorants do not work to what we have decided is the societal norm.
Yeah, I found my deodorant, 30 years ago, and I'm not going to stop using it. It works great.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I use the same stuff that I've used since I was a kid.
Since you caught puberty.
Yeah, since I was pubescent.
Yep.
Is a word that someone recently used in my company, and I was like, oh, I'm going to start saying pubescent whenever I have an opportunity. So thanks for the setup on that.
So does that mean that you're hanging out with a lot of pubescents?
It does. It means that. I've got like 2 projects going on right now that I want to talk about. Project number 1 is that I'm directing a stage adaptation of the Stephen King novel Misery right now. And this is probably the hardest thing I've ever had to direct, because there are so many preconceived notions from people I've talked to about it and from the people who are acting in it.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's hard, right? Like this was a novel for a long time, and if it was just an adaptation of the novel, no big deal, because that happens all the time, and your imagination is the thing that fills in. But when it becomes a Oscar-winning film with one of the best performances you're ever going to have by Kathy Bates, what are you going to do? And we've had a conversation about the fact that like people will have a preconceived notion about what this is, right? And there's also, it's hard too, because most people know the plot going into it. It's a sort of like Romeo and Juliet to some extent, right?
Sure.
People know what's going to happen in here, so trying to find something that's going to surprise them or or even meet their expectations is, there's something tied into that, right?
You're also, but there is a stark difference though between R&J and Misery, which is that for most people who are even aware of Misery, their first and only exposure was the Kathy Bates film. So that version of it is completely locked within their brains. Whereas Romeo and Juliet, you may have first, seen that on Sesame Street, right? Or some other thing, or as a play at a school somewhere. And it's much more loosely defined in your mind as far as the approach, especially because Shakespeare gets done all the time routinely.
Mm-hmm.
There's always new versions of it out there, but that's a different story when you're talking about something that was, a play. I guess you could say the play is probably also adapted from the novel, but in a way adapted from the movie? Or would you say it's adapted from the novel?
Well, interesting you say that, because there are 2 versions of the play that is out there, and this one is adapted by William Goldman, who also wrote the screenplay to the movie.
Did he do Princess Bride?
He did do The Princess
I
Bride.
love Princess Bride.
Me too. William Goldman is actually like one of the greatest screenwriters of all time because he was a guy who sort of like existed outside the studio system.
Right.
And he's very, very interesting. And he actually, like, I think it's a thing called Adventures in the Screen Trade. But if you get a chance, it is a fantastic book about Hollywood just in general. So yeah, so this was adapted by the same guy who wrote the screenplay, and he wrote this after the screenplay, of course, was a huge success. And so he's using a lot of the stuff that he enjoyed that from his own piece. So it makes it, I think, a little more difficult even in that case, right?
Right, absolutely.
So one of the things I've had to do in this situation is for those of you who are not a part of theater pieces, line reads are something that are verboten for people. Like they don't want, a good director isn't supposed to tell you, oh, say it like this, and then they say the line, and then you do that same. You're supposed to interpret to some extent
Right.
what they're saying. So that being said, oh my God, there've been so many times where I'm like, no, I want you to say it like this, because I think every line could be said with this breathy, like, oh, what are you gonna do to me? And I'm like, that's not who this is. And I've had to kind of force some deep character work into this situation. And I've never really had to do that. I mean, for the most part, the plays that I have directed have been funny farces filled with gags,
Right. So
stuff like that.
So first straight drama. Suspense.
Yeah. And there's plenty of diffusing humor in this.
Yeah, well, and you've got a great cast who have strong comedy chops. And
Yep.
so obviously, especially early on in rehearsal, it's sort of a natural thing you do see all the time is leaning into what's comfortable and where you can go. But that's one of the lovely parts of the rehearsal process too, is you see where you're going to start from. And I know where we're going to, so let's whittle our way there.
Yeah, and that kind of feels what it is, whittling. I'm whittling my way down to it. And so I think this show is going to be great. I really do. Although, have you ever heard someone say, oh, this place is not good? Like, have you ever heard someone be like very honest about like a show they're in? Like, they're like, oh, you're in this play, and like, yeah, but it's not going to be very good.
Ooh, is that happening?
No. I'm curious because I've only ever seen people be like, "This is something I'm the most proud of doing." And be like, "You can't be most proud of every play you've ever done."
I mean, no. I'll speak for myself. I've certainly been in shows when someone's like, "Are you doing a show?" I'd be like, "Oh yeah, I'm in this." Hey, you don't need to see it if you don't want to. That's how I'll usually put it, and that's only happened, I think, once or twice for me, where I would never outwardly openly bash something, but I might privately warn, hey, if you're going to come to this, just, right? Like that might happen, but it's been a while. Last play I was in 2019. So,
oh, really? It's been that long?
Yeah. And I don't know when I'm going to do that again. I'm not currently really interested in theater. I'm much more interested back on the film side of things again. So I'm just not really sure when I might try to act ever again. But anyway, so Misery. So
Misery.
So how far into rehearsals are you right now?
5 rehearsals deep.
Okay, and how many weeks do you have left?
3.
All right. I mean, you still have more time.
I got time. You know what really sucks? This is another thing about this show that stinks, is that there are 2 scenes that involve a third character, but everything else involves only the 2 main characters. And the scene never change. The setting never changes, right? Like,
yeah.
So for something, it's like, well, it's very static. So it's like I have to find an organic way to make it seem like you are not. I mean, okay, you'll understand this from the standpoint of a director. This show needs to seem and feel claustrophobic.
Sure. Yeah.
Right? Like it needs to feel like you are stuck in this. same space with a passage of time. But anyone will tell you that is incredibly boring on stage, right? To not have any kind of scene transition, anything like that. So I am planning on playing with lighting quite a bit. I think there's
Okay.
going to be the most light cues I've ever had in a single show. To try and like give you an idea of like, oh, it's night, it's day, it's stormy outside, it's bright outside, all of the things I can do, oh, a car goes by a window, anything I can do to try and give you the feeling that there is something happening outside of these walls.
Mm-hmm.
But you've got the same two people over and over and over again. And like the James Caan character, Paul Sheldon, the writer, he's in the bed for 3/4 of the show.
That was my next question. I can't remember how long he's in the bed for.
He's in the bed for a long time, and then when he's out of the bed, he's in a wheelchair at a writing desk.
Well, at least the blocking for him is easy.
It is, and I've already gotten to the point of where like I've started struggling, being like, hey, listen, I've got to, and one of his arms is in a sling for half the show.
I would just be giving him the note every once in a while. And Jakers, just stay there. Thanks.
Just you're not
and have him
move.
Have him write it down in his script.
Just be like, no movement.
Yeah, and
you
moved a little last time, and don't do that.
Unless you need to move as a character, I would appreciate that you do not. So yeah, I'm just like, when something hits, I love it. I love watching it.
That's the best
it's
feeling.
such a good feeling, and like I'm very verbal about it with like, yes, that's awesome, yeah. So
Here's
hopefully they get into it. Yeah.
Here's a question. If you can, maybe in 1 or 2 sentences, describe something about your approach to Misery that the audience will see is much different than the Kathy Bates James Caan film.
You are trapped too.
Okay, nice.
That's a big piece. Is I want people to identify with Paul because they're also trapped in this space.
Yeah.
And what's weird is I've been telling people that Misery at this point, and for those of you who don't know, the elevator pitch on Misery is this: a famous writer of a pulp romance novel series gets into a car accident, is saved by his #1 fan in a secluded Colorado farmhouse, and things unravel quickly about whether or not this is like she saved his life or she's taking his life.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that draws me to it right now is the fact that she knows everything there is to know about Paul Sheldon. Right? She knows exactly how he writes a book. She knows exactly how he celebrates. She knows, like a quote he had from when he was on Johnny Carson. And I really got into the idea that like we live in a celebrity obsessed culture right now. And while we're not out there kidnapping any celebrities, fingers crossed. I mean, I don't know. Has anyone seen Carol Burnett lately? There is a certain amount of similarity to from this book that was written in the 80s, which is based on a real experience that Stephen King had, and then this. And I shared a story with them about 2 times with the cast, about 2 times I've had what I would consider a very close encounter with someone who's a fan of my radio show, who has gone beyond the limits of acceptable interaction with me. And, I shared it with them to say like, hey, listen, I can identify with where he's coming from on this, because it goes from flattery to fear so quickly.
Yeah.
Right. It goes from that moment of this is great. Thank you so much. You appreciate what I do. And like, oh, you can keep giving me compliments, to all of a sudden realizing that you've ingested the poison.
The intensity ratchets up, and you don't know what that stranger is capable of.
Bingo. Exactly. So I think it's going to be great. I think that this show is going to be really interesting.
Well,
and
from your last play, which was Die Hard, or what was
very Die Hard Christmas.
Very Die Hard Christmas to Misery. I think your next play has to be somewhere in between, because those are definitely two sides of a spectrum.
Well, interesting fact, I kind of have a weird niche that I'm filling right now.
Is
Because
this your second project you're talking about?
No. Oh no, I'm going to get to that in just one second. But
Okay.
so when this show hit Broadway, Laurie Metcalf, Roseanne's sister on Roseanne, Laurie Metcalf, an amazing actress, played the Kathy Bates role.
Oh God, she would have been amazing to see.
Right? But guess who played Paul Sheldon when this was on Broadway?
Who?
Bruce Willis. So,
really?
Yeah, so Bruce
No
Willis
kidding.
in Misery, and then Bruce Willis in Die Hard. So really, I'm looking to adapt another Bruce Willis project.
That's funny. I actually had no idea he did stage work.
Yeah, it wasn't incredibly well reviewed on his part.
Okay.
Just because you can sell tickets to a Broadway show doesn't necessarily mean you should be in a Broadway show.
Right.
But they, to each their own. Okay, so I want to talk about the second thing that I'm doing right now, and this is the thing that I am. I actually, like, when people are listening to this, I need help. I found out in the middle of the last academic year that my high school alma mater was not going to have theater classes anymore. And it's not something that one person did. Their theater teacher at the time, who'd only been there for a little bit, decided that this wasn't for him, and he actually got out of teaching. And there just weren't a lot of kids who signed up for drama classes. And the school made the choice to say, oh, well, we will not offer classes. We'll accommodate those students by sending them to another school that offers drama classes, which is kind of what happened like with Latin programs during our grades, where they're like, oh, okay, well, we'll have one teacher who teaches Latin and have them move from school to school, or we'll, if there's so few kids, we'll bring some of those kids to this. So they are committed to doing a 1-act, a 3-act, and a musical this year, as well as having their drama club and an improv club. So all of the extracurriculars are staying put. Now, when I talked to them at the end of the year, they hadn't made any headway on finding someone to be the advisor for the drama club. And so I said, okay, well, I'll take the drama club. There's a 1-act play festival, and it was due to be hosted at Fargo South this year. And they were going to just move that to another school because they're like, oh, well, since South doesn't have a drama teacher and stuff, like, they can't possibly. And so I was like, actually, I will take that on as well. And this is what I'm feeling right now. I am feeling like the 25 kids who go to Fargo South High who are interested in drama, whether it's being on stage, whether it's directing, whether it's improv, whether they want to do scripted theater, they are getting shortchanged right now. They are being told that they are third in a 3-tier school system and not being prioritized. So I immediately approached Drama Club saying, hey, listen, I want to do stuff that's going to make the other schools jealous of what you've got going on here. So one of the things I added was we're going to do a radio play every quarter. We're going to exactly. Like like the barrier is extremely low to getting a bunch of kids together in front of microphones. They don't have to memorize lines. I can play it on KFGO and give the thrill for that, but then it can also be podcast and they can share it out to friends. And I thought we'll do one per quarter. So for example, I was thinking about doing Frankenstein. For our first one.
Great choice. Yeah.
Because there's great radio plays of Frankenstein that are royalty free, and stuff like that. And then, maybe one that's holiday themed, and then, one that's, a rom-com. In fact, if one of the kids wants to write one, all the better, right?
Sure,
Because
sure.
then we'd have an original piece. Another thing is I'm adding a short film competition,
Ooh, like a 2-minute?
like a 2-minute. And
Oh, yeah.
here's the thing that's even like cooler about that. It's going to be open to any middle school or high school student in the district.
That is a great idea, JJ. That's a fantastic idea.
Thank you very much.
Very strong idea.
Fargo South can host it. And
Yeah.
did you know that they have broadcast classes now?
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
The high schools have classes on broadcasting now that include and like if you're a film kid, that's where you want to go, right? Because you're working with
Sure.
a camera and like you're making
Oh,
fun
yeah,
stuff like
totally.
that, right?
And everyone's got a camera.
Everyone's got a camera. I want to do a drama trip at some point. I want to do
Okay, so let's pause.
yes, unpack it.
So you have decided that you're going to be the tip of the spear to rebuild the drama program at Fargo South. And before I say anything else, I think you're doing the right thing. I'm glad you're doing it. I think you're the only person in this town at the moment who can do it. And I'm not joking about any of that stuff, because here's the thing. Like, I think the only thing I would I don't have to tell you this. You know this. You're overextended right now. But you're always overextended, right?
Yep.
So once misery is off your plate, I hope you will just take that misery energy and then just redirect it into more of this, because you're doing something that's really, really important, and it needs to have someone like you who actually feels it from an intrinsic place inside of them versus like an outsider that they hire to go do whatever. That being said, how do you view yourself in this? How is this like I'm going to do this now until someone else can step in, or I'm going to build something that will grow, and so that we will not have this issue again? Because it's not like drama is not popular. Are you kidding me? I mean, look at Fargo North, Moorhead, West Fargo. Clearly it is. And Fargo South has always had a really awesome drama program. So it clearly from an outsider's perspective, the district is saying, yeah, we'd love to have this happen, but we need that person who's going to spearhead it, and we're not going to do it. And
okay, so to answer a bunch of your questions, first of all, thank you very much. I really appreciate that. I do feel, I feel like this is sort of like maybe part of my destiny, to pay back that place that gave me the opportunity to be who I am today. Right.
Yeah.
And to pay that forward for, the students who are there. It disappoints me that this school has, its program has deteriorated to the point of where it's at right now. But sometimes, sometimes you need a fixer-upper, right? Like a house gets flipped after it's been 100 years old, and you repair the cracks in the foundation, and you find something that has a lot of character, but it feels modern. So I'm trying to kind of get that going. Here's my issue. So last week, we both had really busy weeks last week. My week was I got up extra early. I went into work early so that I could leave early to go directly to Fargo South, where I spent 3 hours. And then I drove from Fargo South to Misery rehearsal, finished rehearsal, spent 45 minutes prepping for the next day, and got to sleep by midnight.
Yep, that's not a good schedule, JJ.
Right.
That's a bad
every
schedule.
Single day. And then I had an improv show on Friday with all of the kids. And so, so now I'm at Fargo South until 10 o'clock. So, and this is just because we did a thing for improv that I call the Gauntlet, which is at the beginning of the year, I like to spend like 5 days straight with the kids doing improv after school so that they can get a real feel for what they're doing. It's great when they can meet once a week, which is what we'll do going forward. But it really makes a difference when you can like do it over and over and over and over and over again, and build on momentum, because I think that's my word of the year, Tucker. It's momentum. It's momentum. It needs to increase. And when you find it, because if you can hold on to momentum, it can carry you past those times when things slow down a little bit. Like you don't stop, you coast for a little bit, and then you can pick it back up again without stopping completely. So I'm really looking for that. I'm really looking to find what that is and how that can work. This is my problem, and I realized it right off the bat when I was meeting with the drama club, because I was like, this is a full-time job. This is without a doubt a full-time job, and I am going to need help from people I know who can come in and do things. Like here's an example. Fargo South High has the largest armory of any school I've ever seen when it comes to like weaponry for plays.
Oh, okay. I was like, what?
It is like,
dude, I couldn't tell where you were going for a
yeah,
second.
you should see they must have like 70 rapiers. Wow. I mean, like they've got broadswords, they've got all of this stuff, so when they do a Romeo and Juliet, the fight scenes are massive. And part of me wants to say, like, okay, so here's one of the ideas. Take a Saturday afternoon and bring someone in who's accomplished in stage combat and let these kids get to utilize this stuff.
Yeah, totally.
Find someone, like, say, like, hey, listen, we're going to do a scene study class, right? Do the things that a drama club does to make you a better performer, to make you better educated. I mean, I was even thinking, like, would kids sign up for, like, a history of Shakespeare afternoon, where you do 2 afternoons and you get up and you read some Shakespeare and you talk about what it is and who it was at the time. And like, so I need to start reaching out to people who can provide those elements, those things to help make this program sing. And it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough because, some of these asks are big asks, like asking someone to do a free stage combat workshop is a lot. I also found out that the people who are running this program previously had not been very good financial stewards of what was going on. And so for example, all the money that they brought in last year for improv was used to pay off a bad debt.
Oh.
So right now, this fund has like $80 in it.
Oof.
Yep.
So we got to get those numbers up.
Yeah, and so one of the things they're going to do is like, and I remember never having to do this in high school, but we're going to have to do it now. We're going to have to do like concessions at sporting events where,
I have an idea.
Go for it.
So you know how like different, like I've seen like different like school clubs will do like, hey, we'll wash your car, right?
Yep.
Or whatever. You should do like a drama kids car wash where while the car's getting washed, they're being entertained by a sonnet or a skit or a mini play or an improv session. So, it's going to take maybe 10 minutes or 5 minutes for these kids to wash your car. And while that's happening, you will be treated to a piece of art or something like that.
Oh, I like that idea a lot. I mean, that's a great idea. Okay. I mean, the more I'm thinking about it, it's absolutely awesome. And there's a world where you sort of like, you also they can pay you to stop too, right? they're like, this is just fine. Okay, so here we go.
Well, and like another thing too is I remember when I was in high school and I was in jazz choir, and in jazz choir, I mean, I know I know they still have a music department, right? Obviously, but not a theater department. But I would maybe cross the two over in a way. When we at Christmas time we would do caroling, and people could actually like hire the jazz choir like to do like singing telegram carols on a certain night. And so like we would go around and we go to hospitals and carol, and we would go to different houses and carol and stuff like that. I wonder if there's some variation of that for small plays, for small scenes, for Shakespearean monologues or things like that could be kind of fun. Something that is both involving the students, obviously, and providing them with experience and education. It's bringing in even some small amount of revenue, but 3, it's visible to the public outside of the school.
That is, I mean, like right off the bat, I'm like, there's got to be something children's theater related,
There's
right?
there's something in there. I don't know what it is, but it's something where you're engaging with the community in a way that's outside of the school. I guess that's another way to put it.
One other thing, and this was very disheartening to me right off the bat, and like it's the first thing that I think I'm going to kind of like come to blows with the administration about there. And the administration has been pretty cool up to this point, so I just want to throw that out there. Like I don't think that these people would love to see drama classes come back and to see more kids involved in the program. I think so. It's not like they're giving up on it. But I also don't think that they have any idea of like how to make it bigger, especially when they do not have a full-time employee who is at the school at all times trying to like roust up some participation. But they started using the black box classroom space for drama as like a storage unit.
No.
And so
no.
Yep.
No.
So immediately one of the things I said is like, nope, this can't be. And like I said, let's transform this space into something that works. And so the choir teacher was like, yes. I mean, think about it as a larger scale rehearsal space. And I'm like, yes. And so my way of kind of forcing the hand on this is I'm going to turn it into an actual theater space that seats about 75 people.
Oh, wow.
We'll build a stage in there. There's, they've got lighting instruments. There was always the intention with all of the black box classroom spaces to turn them into a small theater space, and nobody has done anything with that yet. So this is the year that we can finally do that. And they're like, oh, but we want to be in the theater. And I was like, hey, listen, let's say an improv show, right? Let's say you get 150 people to an improv show. That's a good amount of people. That's a lot of people who came to your improv show. But in a 650 seat theater, that doesn't look like a big group.
Right.
That looks sparse, and they are all moved over. I said, versus what about 75 people in a packed little space like that where you're performing 3 feet from them?
Yep.
You will feel an energy you've never felt before during shows. It's going to be different.
Yeah, well, and that's just different pieces of theater call for different settings like that.
Yes, precisely.
Right? Like you don't want to do Misery in a 1,000 seat house.
Right. Bingo.
You want a more intimate setting.
I guess long and short at this point, if someone's listening to this and they think they might have something they want to add to it, please reach out to me and let me know. I need the help. These kids deserve opportunities, and I just want to I want to make it special. And like I gave the kids a little speech at improv, and I said, hey, listen, let me tell you about 2 improv shows that are incredibly important for this program, because at this point, Don Quixote's is just a couple years shy of being 30 years old.
Wow.
Right, I know, which is amazing.
That's incredible.
It is. Most improv troupes do not last that long. Like it's just the longevity of this program is amazing. But so one of the things I said was like the first improv show that ever happened for Fargo South High, the administration came and they sat and they had their arms crossed and they were waiting for the kids to mess up to take it away. They were cautiously optimistic about this thing, but it is, and from their perspective, can you imagine a world where you are trusting,
right? Sure.
Like enough to say like, okay, well, we'll let these kids be.
Well, especially because they're making it up as they go, right?
Yes, bingo, exactly.
They're not following a script.
It's just crazy. So, and I said, and then I want to talk to you about tonight, because tonight is the first performance from the drama department of a school that lost a vital element and you need to prove to them that you still want this. I said, like, this doesn't mean that your show has to be the most amazing improv show ever, but it has to mean that you show up and that you do the work, because you are setting the foundation for the next 30 years. And I said, it's a lot to put on the back of, some high school kids, some 16, 17, 18-year-olds, but that is absolutely the truth here. And if you decide that this is not something that you want to work hard for, let's just be honest about it, because there's no point in dragging out a death. And the kids were like, we want this. And I'm like, that's what I wanted to hear. Let's make this happen. And they got a great crowd. They got a standing ovation. And then I let them do something that the other schools can't do. In fact, the reaction was amazing. There is an improv game called Mousetraps, where you blindfold two improvisers, you make them take off their shoes, and they have to do a scene on stage with 100 live snap mousetraps on stage. And so it's, there's a weird thing in improv where like a little bit of pain adds excitement, and, essentially like you're creating adrenaline for an improv show. Right. And so the second I had the reveal was great, because we had all the mousetraps set up behind the main curtain, and they said, hey, we're going to do something that we've never done here at Fargo South High. And then the curtain opens, and like, we're playing the game Mousetraps. And you heard one kid who had graduated previously go, no way, no. And like, someone had taken a video, and the video was of the reveal of these mousetraps. They just had to be at the same time. And you can see like half this audience who are leaning back in their chairs stand up straight and then bend forward to lean in closer. It is wild. It's so cool. And so I was like, yeah, go for it, gang. This is your moment. And so I want them to have a year's worth of experiences like that, of things that no one else has done, and gets an opportunity to do something. Because I want those kids at other schools to be jealous they're not going to Fargo South and doing these things, not because their program isn't good at their school, but so that these kids get that feeling of like someone's jealous of our program, because I know that they're jealous of their program still being able to have classes at their schools. So
nice.
That's my 2 cents. That's my whole thing. So
is this a bad time to propose to you that we start 5 new podcasts?
This would be the moment where I'm like, okay, let's figure out some schedules. And let's go from there. Because I also feel like this too. Misery opens October 17th. And I feel like the second that Misery opens, I'm going to feel like I'm just not utilizing all the hours in my day, and I should have some more to do. That thing, like when you get done with a show and then all of a sudden you have all that free time on your hand, and you're like, oh, should I clean the gutters? Like, I should probably make use of the time I have. Did you ever get that?
JJ? No. You don't
get that?
You and I have very different personalities.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. Once that's done, I'm just zen, man. I'm just enjoying doing nothing.
Oh, okay. Well, I learned something new about you today. And on that note, so have a good one. I have actually got to run because I'm also going to foster 5 kittens at the same time, because I thought that this would be a good time to foster some kittens. In fact, and also I'm quilting. I have to make a quilt for a group that is trying to teach underprivileged mothers how to quilt. So I gotta go get my quilt on. That's going to wrap it up for today's show. If you enjoyed this episode and would like to help us continue to produce new episodes each week, visit jjmeetsworld.com, where you can donate to our Patreon, pick up some swag at the merch shop, or follow our link to Apple Podcasts and leave us a 5-star review. You can also follow us on social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, all the sites the cool kids are using these days. JJ Meets World is produced every week by Tucker Lucas. You can find out more about Tucker's work by visiting moonbasemaria.com. If you want to get in touch with your host with the most, check out linebenders.com, where you can find direct contact info for JJ or booking information. Tucker, I don't know if you've seen the movie Multiplicity, but I'm kind of wondering if that was based on reality.